Sir,
Sir,
you need to
please,
come
you
right
need to
now.
come right now.
Nurse
Your
called the
assistant is in
billionaire gets a
labor.
call on his wedding day. His assistant just gave birth to his
Hello?
twin daughters.
Are you there? I should come now. She's
47
in
missed
labor.
calls.
I'm on my way now.
38 text messages. And then the final one, from a number he did not recognize. Sir, you need to come right now. Room 712. She is having the babies. Twins. His best man grabbed his arm. Julian, what the hell is happening? If you love powerful, emotional stories that inspire and uplift, make sure you subscribe to Millionaire Love Tales with Mr. Stanley. Join our growing family today, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss another unforgettable love story. But Julian was not listening anymore. His eyes locked on the screen, on that word, twins. And suddenly, the woman walking toward him in white lace, the cathedral filled with roses, the $2 million wedding his family had planned for a year. None of it mattered, because 9 months ago he had walked away from the only woman he had ever truly loved, and now she was giving birth to his children. Alone, while he stood here about to marry someone else. Julian. His bride's voice cut through the fog, sharp with confusion. Julian, what are you doing? He looked at her. Penelope Hartwell. Beautiful. Perfect. Everything his family wanted for him. And he felt nothing. I have to go, he said. Go. We are getting married. Right now. In front of 600 people. There is someone who needs me. Someone I should have never left. Her face shifted from confusion to horror as understanding dawned. You are leaving me? At the altar? I am sorry. Julian's voice cracked. I am so sorry. I should never have let it get this far. And then, he did the unthinkable. He turned away from his bride, walked straight down the aisle against the flow of everything he had ever been taught, and ran toward the woman who had always had his heart. What could possibly make a billionaire abandon his own wedding in front of 600 people? What secret had been kept from him for 9 months? And can a man who made the worst mistake of his life ever truly earn a second chance? If this story is already pulling at your emotions, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Would you have left that wedding? Stay with me because this story is about to take turns you will never see coming. The story begins 6 hours earlier in a penthouse suite overlooking Manhattan, where Julian Blackwood was getting dressed for a wedding he had never wanted. The morning light filtered through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across Italian marble floors. Julian stood before a full-length mirror, adjusting cufflinks that had belonged to his grandfather. They were platinum, engraved with the Blackwood family crest. Heavy with expectation, his reflection stared back at him. 34 years old, 6'2", the kind of face that graced magazine covers and investor presentations with equal ease. But his eyes told a different story. They were the eyes of a man going through motions, playing a role in a play he had never auditioned for. The custom Tom Ford tuxedo fit perfectly. It should have, given what it cost. Every stitch designed to project an image of success, of certainty, of a man who had everything figured out. Julian had never felt more lost in his life. A knock at the door. Derek Lawson entered, already dressed in his groomsman attire, a glass of whiskey in each hand. Thought you might need this. Derek handed over the drink. Liquid courage for the condemned man. Julian took the glass, but did not drink. I am not condemned. Derek raised an eyebrow. No? Because you have been staring at that mirror for 20 minutes without moving. Most grooms look nervous. You look like you are attending a funeral. Maybe the first am. The words hung in the air between them. Derek had been Julian's best friend since their freshman year at Princeton. He was the only person who knew the truth about Amara. The only one who had watched Julian fall apart after ending things with her. The only one who knew this wedding was a transaction, not a celebration. You do not have to do this. Derek's voice dropped low. It is not too late. Julian finally took a sip of whiskey, letting it burn down his throat. The merger with Hartwell Industries depends on this marriage. My father made that clear. If I back out now, the family loses everything. Your family has $4 billion. They will survive. It is not about the money. Julian set down the glass harder than necessary. It is about legacy, control, the things my father cares about more than whether his son is happy. And Amara? The name hit Julian like a physical blow. He closed his eyes, and for just a moment, he let himself remember. Her laugh, the way she challenged every assumption he had ever made, the way she looked at him like he was more than a last name in a bank account. Amara is gone. Julian's voice was flat, rehearsed. She moved on. I made sure of that. Did you, though? Because I saw the way you looked at her pictures on social media last month. You still follow her from your private account. Julian said nothing. There was nothing to say. Yes. He still looked at her photos. Yes, he still thought about her every single day. But he had made his choice 9 months ago. He had chosen his family over his heart, and now he had to live with it. Another knock, this one sharper, more insistent. Julian's mother entered without waiting for permission. Vivian Blackwood was 62 years old and looked 50. Blonde hair perfectly styled, a designer dress that cost more than most people's cars, and eyes that calculated everything, measured everyone against an internal scale of usefulness. You should be downstairs by now. Her gaze swept over him, finding nothing out of place because nothing ever was. The Hartwells are arriving. Maxwell wants a word before the ceremony. Of course he does. Julian finished the whiskey. Heaven forbid we have a wedding without a business meeting. Watch your tone. Vivian stepped closer, lowering her voice. This marriage secures everything we have worked for. Penelope is a lovely girl. You will learn to care for her in time. The way you learned to care for father. The slap came fast and hard, but Julian did not flinch. He had been expecting it. You do not know anything about my marriage. Vivian's voice was ice. I did what was necessary for this family. Now you will do the same. After today, you will have everything. Power, position, a wife who understands our world. You should be grateful. She left without waiting for a response. Derek whistled low. Charming as ever, your mother. Julian touched his cheek where she had struck him. It did not hurt. He had stopped feeling his parents' blows years ago. You should go make sure everything is ready at the cathedral. Julian, if you need me to. I need you to do your job. Julian forced a smile that did not reach his eyes. Best man duties. Make sure the rings are where they should be. Keep my father away from the open bar until after the ceremony. The usual. Derek hesitated at the door. You know I would do anything for you, right? If you needed to disappear, if you needed help getting out of this. There is no getting out. Julian turned back to the mirror, adjusting his collar one final time. There never was. 45 minutes later, Julian stood in the vestibule of St. Patrick's Cathedral, listening to the murmur of 600 guests finding their seats. The cathedral was a masterpiece of Gothic architecture, all soaring ceilings and stained glass windows that scattered colored light across ancient stone floors. White roses and orchids covered every surface. Candles flickered in silver holders. A 40-piece orchestra played softly from the balcony. It was, objectively, the wedding of the year. Every society page in New York had been covering it for months. Billionaire tech CEO weds shipping heiress. The merger of two dynasties. A fairy tale for the modern age. Julian felt like he was suffocating. His father appeared beside him, Harrison Blackwood in all his patrician glory. At 67, he carried himself like a man who had never heard the word no. Silver hair swept back from a face that had been handsome once, before ambition carved all the softness away. Maxwell is pleased. Harrison's voice was low, meant only for Julian. The final contracts will be signed tonight at the reception. By tomorrow morning, our companies will be officially merged. I thought this was a wedding, not a business deal. Harrison's smile did not reach his eyes. Everything is a business deal, son. The sooner you understand that, the happier you will be. Like you are happy, I have power. Harrison straightened his son's boutonniere, a gesture that might have been paternal from a different man. Power is better than happiness. Happiness fades. Power compounds. And love? His father actually laughed. Love is a story poor people tell themselves to make their lives bearable. We have something better. We have legacy. The orchestra shifted, beginning the processional music. Harrison clapped Julian on the shoulder. It is time. Make your family proud. Julian walked to the altar, taking his position beside Derek and the other groomsmen. 600 faces turned toward him. Senators, CEOs, celebrities, the who's who of American wealth and influence, all there to witness this union, all expecting a perfect performance. His phone vibrated in his pocket. Julian ignored it. Everyone knew not to call today. His assistant had been instructed. His board members had been informed. This was his wedding day. The outside world would have to wait. Another vibration, then another. Derek leaned in. Want me to turn it off? Julian shook his head slightly. Something felt wrong. A cold sensation spreading through his chest. A whisper of instinct he could not explain. The organ music swelled. The congregation rose to their feet. Penelope appeared at the entrance, a vision in white. Her dress was Oscar de la Renta, custom designed over 8 months of fittings. Her veil was antique lace that had belonged to her grandmother. Her smile was radiant, confident, the smile of a woman who always got what she wanted. She began her walk down the aisle, her father Maxwell beside her. Julian's phone buzzed 7 more times in rapid succession. His mouth went dry. His heart began to hammer. Something was very, very wrong. Penelope was a quarter of the way down the aisle now. Her smile was still perfect, but he could see the tiny furrow between her brows. She had noticed something in his expression. His phone rang. Not a vibration this time, but the actual ringtone, cutting through the sacred silence of the cathedral like a knife. Gasps rippled through the first few pews. The pastor's eyes widened. His mother's hand flew to her throat. Julian pulled out his phone. 47 missed calls. 38 text messages, all from Zara Okonkwo, the number he had deleted but would recognize anywhere. Amara's sister. His stomach dropped. The latest text was from a different number, an unknown number. 3 sentences that destroyed everything. Sir, you need to come right now. Room 712. She is having the babies. Twins. The world tilted. The cathedral seemed to spin around him. The air was too thick to breathe. Twins. Babies. Having them right now. He did the math. 9 months ago, he had ended things with Amara. 9 months ago, they had spent one last night together before he found the courage to break both their hearts. 9 months. She had been pregnant. All this time, she had been pregnant with his children. And she had never told him. Or had she tried? Julian, the pastor's voice was urgent. Julian, the bride is approaching. He looked up. Penelope was halfway down the aisle now. Her smile had faded completely, replaced by confusion. Her father's grip on her arm had tightened. Julian, his mother's voice hissed from the front pew. Put that phone away this instant. But Julian was not listening. He was reading the earlier texts from Zara, scrolling backward through 9 months of silence. Your assistant said you were unavailable. I have been trying to reach you for weeks. Please, Julian. She needs you. The babies need you. The babies. His babies. His daughters, according to the latest message. And Amara was giving birth to them right now. Alone. While he stood in a cathedral about to marry another woman. Something broke open inside him. 9 months of denial. 9 months of pretending he could live without her. 9 months of convincing himself that duty was more important than love. All of it shattered in an instant. His feet moved before his brain could process the decision. Julian. The pastor grabbed his arm. What are you doing? Julian pulled free. He was walking now, walking away from the altar, walking toward the center aisle where Penelope had stopped completely, her face a mask of growing horror. They met in the middle, bride and groom, facing each other for what should have been the happiest moment of their lives. Julian, what is happening? Penelope's voice was sharp, confused, afraid. Why are you looking at your phone during our wedding? I cannot do this. The words came out clearer than he expected, louder. In the acoustic perfection of the cathedral, they carried to every corner. What do you mean you cannot do this? I am sorry, Penelope. Julian met her eyes, saw the first cracks appearing in her composure. There is someone who needs me. Someone I should have never left. Her face went white. Are you talking about another woman? At our wedding? She is having my children. Right now. I just found out. The silence that followed was absolute. 600 people held their breath. The orchestra had stopped playing. Even the candles seemed to freeze mid-flicker. Children? Penelope's voice rose, incredulous. You have children with someone else? I did not know. Julian's own voice cracked. I swear I did not know. But I know now, and I have to go. You are leaving me. Her words were barely a whisper, but they echoed. At the altar, in front of everyone. I am so sorry. He moved to step around her, but her hand shot out and grabbed his arm. Her perfectly manicured nails dug into his sleeve. If you walk out that door, Julian Blackwood, you will regret it for the rest of your life. My father will destroy you. Your business. Your family. Everything. Maybe. Julian gently removed her hand. But if I stay, I will destroy myself. He kept walking. The gauntlet of judgment awaited him. 600 faces turning as he passed. Shock. Horror. Disgust. Fascination. He saw it all. His mother rose from her seat, her face twisted with fury. Julian Alexander Blackwood, you stop right there. He did not stop. Harrison stepped into the aisle, blocking his path. Think very carefully about what you are doing, son. There is no coming back from this. Julian looked at his father, the man who had controlled his every decision for 34 years, the man who had threatened Amara, the man who had turned love into a transaction and family into a corporation. I know, Julian said. That is the point. He pushed past his father and kept walking. Derek fell into step beside him, abandoning his post at the altar. What are you doing? What is happening? Amara is in labor. Julian did not slow down. Twins. They are mine. I have to go. Jesus Christ. Derek stopped, stunned, then ran to catch up. I am coming with you. No. Stay here. Do damage control. Tell them whatever you need to tell them. They burst through the massive oak doors of the cathedral into the afternoon sunlight. Julian was already running toward the car waiting at the curb. Behind him, he could hear the chaos erupting. Shouts, screams, his mother's voice rising above it all in fury. Camera phones already recording what would become the biggest scandal New York society had seen in decades. Julian yanked open the car door and threw himself into the back seat. His driver, Marcus, turned around with wide eyes. Sir? The reception is not for several hours. Lenox Hospital. Julian gasped, his heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. Labor and delivery. Room 712. Drive as fast as you can. Faster than you have ever driven in your life. But sir, what about the wedding? Julian looked out the rear window. Penelope had appeared on the cathedral steps, her white dress brilliant against the stone, her veil streaming in the wind. Even from this distance, he could see she was crying. For a moment, just a moment, he felt the weight of what he had done. He had hurt an innocent woman. He had humiliated her in front of everyone she knew. He had made her a punchline, a cautionary tale, a headline. But then he thought of Amara, alone in a hospital room, bringing his children into the world without him. There is no wedding, Julian said. Not anymore. Drive. The car pulled away from the cathedral, and Julian Blackwood left everything he had ever known behind. The drive to Lenox Hospital should have taken 22 minutes. In Tuesday afternoon traffic, it took 37 minutes of purgatory. Julian sat in the back seat, still wearing his wedding tuxedo, staring at his phone as notification after notification rolled in. His mother calling. His father calling. Maxwell Hartwell calling. His assistant calling. His board members calling. He ignored them all. Instead, he scrolled backward through Zara's messages, piecing together a timeline of horror. 3 months ago. Julian, please call me. It is urgent. His assistant had responded that Mr. Blackwood was in a meeting. 5 months ago. I've been trying to reach Julian for weeks. Is this number still correct? No response recorded. 7 months ago. Please tell Julian that Amara needs to speak with him. It is important. His assistant had noted the call and marked it low priority per standing instructions. 9 months ago, 1 week after Julian had ended things with Amara. Please, just tell him I called. She did not leave a number. She had not needed to. It was already in the system. Julian's hands shook as he read. She had tried. She had reached out. And his own assistant, following his explicit orders to screen personal calls, had blocked her at every turn. He had told everyone that he needed space to focus on the wedding. No distractions, no personal matters, no one from his old life. He had built a wall to protect himself from the pain of losing Amara, and that wall had kept him from knowing about his own children. Sir, Marcus caught his eye in the rearview mirror. We are 2 minutes out. Are you certain about this? More certain than I have ever been about anything. The hospital appeared ahead, a towering glass and steel structure against the Manhattan skyline. Marcus pulled up to the emergency entrance, and Julian was out of the car before it fully stopped. He ran through the automatic doors, his tuxedo drawing stares from everyone he passed. A security guard moved to intercept him. Sir, you cannot just run in here. Labor and delivery, room 712. I am the father. The guard looked at his tuxedo, at the boutonniere still pinned to his lapel, at the wild desperation in his eyes. 4th floor. Elevators are to your left. Julian ran. The elevators seemed to crawl upward, each floor taking an eternity. He caught his reflection in the polished metal doors. He looked insane. A billionaire in a wedding tuxedo, disheveled and desperate, riding an elevator to meet children he had not known existed until 30 minutes ago. The doors opened. A sign pointed toward labor and delivery. He ran past the nurse's station, following room numbers. 708, 710, 712. The door was partially open. He could hear voices inside. A doctor giving instructions, someone crying out in pain, and another voice, sharp and furious. Push, Amara. You are almost there. Just a few more. Julian pushed the door open. The room came into focus in fragments. Bright lights overhead. Monitors beeping in steady rhythms. Medical staff moving with practiced efficiency. And in the center of it all, Amara Okonkwo. She lay in the hospital bed, her beautiful dark skin glistening with sweat, her natural hair pulled back from her face. Her features were contorted with effort, her hands gripping the bed rails as a contraction racked her body. Beside her stood Zara, Amara's older sister, holding her hand and offering encouragement. When Zara saw Julian in the doorway, her expression shifted instantly from supportive to murderous. You, Zara's voice could have cut glass. How dare you show your face here? But Amara had seen him too. Her eyes went wide, the pain momentarily forgotten. Julian? It came out as barely a whisper. Julian, is that really you? He crossed to her bedside in 3 strides, taking her other hand before Zara could stop him. I am here. I came as soon as I found out. I am so sorry, Amara. I am so sorry I did not know. Another contraction hit, and Amara cried out, her grip on his hand crushing. The doctor, a calm woman in her 50s, looked up briefly. If you are the father, you need to scrub in. We are minutes away from delivery. I am the father. Julian said the words like a vow. I am staying. Zara stepped forward, putting herself between Julian and her sister. No. You do not get to do this. You broke her heart. You abandoned her. She has been doing this alone for 9 months. I did not know. Julian met Zara's furious gaze without flinching. I swear on my life, I did not know about the pregnancy. If I had known, you made sure not to know. Zara's words were acid. You disappeared into your perfect life with your perfect fiancé. You made it impossible for her to reach you. Zara. Amara's voice cut through, strained but firm. Stop. Let him stay. Amara, after everything he did. These are his daughters. Amara gasped as another contraction began. He is here now. That is what matters. Daughters. The word hit Julian like a physical force. Twin girls. He was going to be the father of twin girls. A nurse appeared at his elbow, pressing a bundle of surgical scrubs into his hands. Bathroom is there. Change quickly. We do not have much time. Julian moved in a daze. The small bathroom had fluorescent lights that buzzed overhead. He stripped off the tuxedo, the $15,000 symbol of the life he was leaving behind, and stuffed it into a corner. He pulled on the scrubs, blue and shapeless and perfect. When he looked in the mirror, he saw a different man. Not the CEO, not the Blackwood heir, not the groom who had just destroyed a cathedral full of expectations, just a man about to become a father. He returned to the room to find Amara deep in active labor. The next 40 to 5 minutes were the most intense of his life. He held her hand while she pushed. He whispered encouragement he was not sure made sense. He watched her fight with a strength that amazed him. You are doing so well. Julian pressed his lips to her knuckles. You are the strongest person I have ever known. Shut up. Amara gasped between contractions. You do not get to be supportive right now. I am still furious with you. Be furious. He wiped her forehead with a cool cloth. Be as furious as you want. I am still not leaving. Zara watched from the corner, her expression unreadable. She had stopped trying to throw Julian out, but her eyes tracked his every movement with protective intensity. Okay. The doctor's voice cut through the chaos. The first baby is crowning. One more big push, Amara. Give me everything you have. Amara screamed, her body arching, her hand crushing Julian's with impossible force. And then, a sound that changed everything. A cry. Tiny, indignant, absolutely perfect. Baby girl number 1 is here. The doctor held up a squirming, beautiful infant. She has quite the set of lungs. Julian's vision blurred with tears. A daughter. He had a daughter. The nurses whisked the baby away to clean and check her, but before Julian could even process what he was feeling, Amara cried out again. The second baby is coming. The doctor positioned herself. Same thing, Amara. One more push. I cannot. Amara's voice broke. I am so tired. Julian leaned close to her ear. You can. You have done 9 months of this alone. You only have to do this 1 more minute with me. Come on, Amara. Bring our daughter into the world. Something in Amara's eyes shifted. Determination replacing exhaustion. She gripped his hand, took a breath, and pushed with everything she had left. Another cry filled the room. Slightly different from the first. Softer, but equally indignant at being expelled from her warm cocoon. Baby girl number 2. The doctor smiled. Congratulations, you have twin daughters. Julian could not speak, could not breathe, could only stare as the nurses cleaned both babies and brought them to Amara, placing one in each arm. Amara's exhausted face transformed into something transcendent. Pure love, pure wonder, pure gratitude. Look at them. Her voice was barely a whisper. Julian, look at them. He moved closer, looking down at 2 tiny faces, one slightly larger, already quiet and observant, her dark eyes trying to focus on the world around her. The other smaller but louder, announcing her presence with little huffs and squirms. They are perfect. Julian's voice cracked on the words. You are perfect. All of you. Do you want to hold them? Amara asked. The question was a test. He knew that. After everything he had done, she was giving him a chance to step up or step away. He held out his arms. The nurse helped transfer both babies, one in each arm, and Julian looked down at his daughters for the first time. The weight of them was almost nothing. 8 pounds between them. But the weight of the moment was everything. Hi, little ones. His voice was rough with emotion. I am your dad. I know I have not been around. I know I missed so much. But I am here now. And I promise you, I'm going to spend the rest of my life making up for it. Pretty words, Blackwood. Zara's voice came from the corner. But those babies need more than promises. They need consistency, presence, someone who shows up even when it is hard. I know. Julian looked up, meeting her hostile gaze. I will prove it. Whatever it takes, however long it takes. Zara held his stare for a long moment, searching for something. She must not have found what she was looking for, because she shook her head. We will see. She moved toward the door. I'm going to call our aunts and let them know the babies are here. You, she pointed at Julian, do not mess this up. She left, and suddenly Julian was alone with Amara and their daughters. The room was quieter now. The medical team had finished their work and given them space. Machines beeped softly. Late afternoon light filtered through the windows. Julian carefully handed the babies back to Amara, settling himself in the chair beside her bed. You were getting married today. Amara's voice was tired but clear. To Penelope Hartwell. I left. At the altar? At the altar. Julian nodded. In front of 600 people. It will be the scandal of the year. Your mother must be furious. My mother can go to hell. Amara's eyebrows rose. That is new. A lot of things are new. Julian leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Amara, why did you not tell me? The question hung in the air between them, heavy with 9 months of silence and hurt. I tried. Amara's voice was carefully controlled. I called your office 3 times in the first month after you left. Your assistant told me you were unavailable, that you had left instructions not to be disturbed with personal matters. Julian closed his eyes. He remembered those instructions. He had given them right after ending things with Amara. He had told himself it was about focus, about moving forward, about being strong enough to let her go. In truth, it had been about running, about building walls high enough that he could not see what he had lost. Then I saw the engagement announcement. Amara continued. 6 weeks after you told me we needed to step back. You were engaged to Penelope Hartwell. I figured you had made your choice. I never chose her. Julian's voice was fierce. I was forced into that engagement by my father. He threatened you, Amara. He threatened your sister. He said if I did not end things with you and marry someone acceptable, he would destroy your careers, your finances, everything. What? He did background on you. Found out about Zara's student loans. Threatened to make them come due immediately. Threatened to get her blacklisted from nursing positions. Julian's hands clenched. I thought I was protecting you by walking away. I thought if I just did what he wanted, you would be safe. Amara stared at him. You should have told me. I know that now. I was a coward. I thought I was being noble, but I was just afraid. Afraid to fight. Afraid to fail. Afraid to lose everything my family represents. So, you lost me instead. Yes. Julian met her eyes. The worst trade I have ever made. One of the babies stirred, making a small sound of displeasure. Amara adjusted her gently, her attention momentarily diverted. When she looked back at Julian, something in her expression had shifted. Still guarded, still hurt, but something else underneath. I was so angry at you. Her voice was quiet. For months, I hated you. I told myself I did not need you, that I could do this alone, that my daughters would never even know your name. And now you are here, in a hospital gown, holding my babies, after apparently walking out of your own wedding. She almost smiled. It is hard to stay angry at someone who blew up their entire life to be here. I would blow up 100 lives. 1,000. Julian took her hand, gently this time. You and these girls are what matters. I should have known that 9 months ago. I should have fought for you instead of running. What happens now? The question was simple but enormous. What happened now? His family would disown him. His business was probably in chaos. Maxwell Hartwell would certainly come after him with everything he had. The press would tear him apart, and he did not care about any of it. Now I prove to you that I am not the man who walked away. Julian squeezed her hand. Now I show up, every single day. For you, for our daughters. Whatever you need, whatever they need, I will be there. You say that now, but your life is complicated, Julian. Your family, your business, all of it. I will uncomplicate it. I will delegate. I will set boundaries. I will do whatever I have to do to be present. Julian's voice was firm. I spent my whole life being the son my parents wanted, the CEO the board expected, the billionaire the press created. None of those versions of me were real. This is real. You, our daughters, a chance to be somebody worth being. Amara was quiet for a long moment. Julian could see her thinking, weighing his words against 9 months of evidence to the contrary. Finally, she spoke. I am not ready to trust you. Her voice was steady. Not yet. You hurt me too badly for that to heal overnight. I understand, but I am willing to let you try. She looked down at the babies in her arms. For them, they deserve to know their father. If you can prove you are worth knowing, I will. Julian promised. I swear to you, Amara, I will prove it. A nurse knocked softly and entered. Sorry to interrupt, but we need to do some additional checks on the babies. And Mom, you should try to rest. It has been a long day. Amara reluctantly surrendered the twins to the nurse, watching with protective eyes as they were placed in bassinets nearby. You should go, Amara said to Julian. Deal with your mess, your family, the fallout. I can stay. No. She shook her head. I need to rest. And you have a lot of fires to put out. Come back tomorrow. We will talk more then. Julian stood, feeling the weight of everything waiting for him outside this room. But before he left, he stopped beside the bassinets where his daughters lay. They need names, he said softly. Have you thought about it? For months, Amara's voice was tired, but warm. The first one, the quiet one. I was thinking Zuri. It means beautiful in Swahili. Zuri. Julian repeated the name, feeling how it fit. I love it. And the second one, the loud one. I had not decided. I was waiting for something that felt right. Julian looked at the smaller twin, who even now was making tiny sounds of protest at the indignity of being examined. What about Nia? He said. It means purpose. Amara went still. How do you know that? Julian felt his face heat. After you left. After I ended things. I started studying. Your culture, your language, your heritage. It was a stupid way to feel closer to you when I had pushed you away. For a long moment, Amara said nothing. Then, so quietly, Julian almost missed it. Zuri and Nia. She said, they are perfect. Julian wanted to say more, wanted to promise her everything, but he knew that words were not what she needed right now. I will be back tomorrow, he said instead. First thing, he turned and walked out of the room, pulling the door closed softly behind him. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall and let out a breath he had not known he was holding. His legs felt weak. His heart was still racing, and his phone, which he had silenced, showed 217 new notifications. He turned it back on. His mother had left 14 voicemails. His father had left 8. Maxwell Hartwell had left 3, each one angrier than the last. Derek had texted repeatedly, asking if he was okay. The news was already breaking. Billionaire CEO abandons bride at altar. Blackwood wedding shocker. Mystery woman behind wedding day disaster. Julian scrolled through the headlines, watching his reputation burn in real time. and for the first time in his life, he did not care. He had 2 daughters, Zuri and Nia. He had a chance to be someone worth being. Everything else was just noise. He called Derek. Julian. His best friend answered on the first ring. "Where the hell are you? Are you okay?" "I am fine. I am at the hospital." "Hospital? Are you hurt?" "No." Julian looked back at the closed door of room 712. "I am a father, Derek. Twin girls. They were born today." The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. "Holy shit," Derek finally said. "The assistant. Amara. She was pregnant?" "She tried to tell me. My assistant blocked her calls, following my orders." Julian's voice was bitter. "I did this to myself. What are you going to do?" "Right now, I am going to go home, shower, and prepare for the war that is coming. Tomorrow, I am coming back here to be with my daughters. And sometime in between, I need to figure out how to save my company while my family tries to destroy me. Your father is already making calls." Derek's voice was grim. "The board has scheduled an emergency meeting for tomorrow afternoon. There are rumors of a vote of no confidence. Let them vote." Julian straightened, pushing away from the wall. "If they want to remove me, they can try. But Nexus is my company. I built it from nothing. They do not get to take it away because I chose my children over a business deal. It is not just business, Julian. The Hartwells are powerful. Maxwell is out for blood. Then he can come get it. But right now, my daughters are 3 hours old, and I'm standing in a hospital hallway in scrubs. Everything else can wait until tomorrow." He hung up before Derek could respond. The elevator doors opened, and Julian stepped inside. He caught his reflection again in the polished metal. Scrubs, stubble, eyes that looked tired but alive for the first time in months. He was about to go to war, against his family, against the Hartwells, against everyone who thought they could control his life. But first, he needed to prepare, to gather his strength, to figure out who he was going to be now that he had finally stopped being who everyone else wanted. The elevator reached the ground floor. Julian stepped out into the hospital lobby, where late afternoon sun streamed through the windows. His life as he knew it was over. His real life was just beginning. Have you ever had to choose between the life everyone expected and the life your heart demanded? Julian just made his choice, but now he has to face the consequences. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Do you think he can really change? Can a man who abandoned the woman he loved earn a second chance? Stay with me because the hardest part of this journey is just beginning. To understand where Julian and Amara go from here, we need to understand how they got here. How did a billionaire CEO fall in love with his executive assistant? What made their connection so powerful that it survived 9 months of separation and silence? Let us go back to the beginning, 2 years before the hospital room, 2 years before the abandoned wedding, 2 years before everything fell apart. It started with a resignation letter. Julian sat in his corner office at Nexus Technologies, 47 floors above Manhattan, reading the same email for the 3rd time. "Dear Mr. Blackwood, after 5 months of working as your executive assistant, I have decided to pursue other opportunities. Please consider this my 2 weeks' notice." His 3rd assistant in 2 years. His 4th, if you counted the one who had lasted exactly 6 days before having a nervous breakdown in the supply closet. Derek appeared in his doorway. "Another one bites the dust? Apparently, I am difficult to work with." "You?" Derek's voice dripped with sarcasm. "The man who sent back his coffee 7 times because the temperature was 2 degrees off? The man who once made an assistant cry because she used the wrong font in a presentation? I cannot imagine why anyone would find you difficult." Julian ignored him. "HR is sending up new candidates this afternoon. Good luck with that." Derek dropped into one of the leather chairs across from Julian's desk. "Though honestly, you might want to consider the possibility that the problem is not the assistants. The problem is definitely the assistants." 3 hours later, Julian sat through 4 interviews with 4 perfectly qualified candidates. Each one said the right things, had the right credentials, would probably have been excellent at the job, and each one Julian knew within 5 minutes would not last. They were too eager, too nervous, too obviously hoping to leverage the position into something else, a connection, a promotion, a story to tell at cocktail parties about the time they worked for the Julian Blackwood. He was about to tell HR to cancel the 5th interview when the door opened, and Amara Okonkwo walked in. She was not what he expected. Her resume had been impressive. Northwestern undergraduate, MBA from Columbia, 3 years at a competing tech firm in increasingly senior administrative roles. but nothing on paper had prepared him for the actual woman. She was beautiful, certainly. Dark skin that seemed to glow in the afternoon light. Natural hair styled in twists that framed her face. Eyes that held intelligence and warmth and something else. A steadiness he could not quite name. But it was not her appearance that stopped him. It was the way she carried herself. No nervousness, no eagerness, just calm confidence as she took the seat across from his desk. Mr. Blackwood. Her voice was warm but professional. Thank you for making time to see me, Miss Okonkwo. He glanced at her resume again. Your credentials are impressive. Why are you leaving your current position? The CEO micromanages in ways that are counterproductive. I have learned what I can from that environment. I am looking for something more challenging. And you think working for me will be more challenging? She met his gaze directly. I think working for you will be different. Your reputation suggests you have high standards. I have high standards too. Either we will work well together or we will not, but I would rather fail spectacularly than succeed at something mediocre. Julian felt something shift in his chest. Interest, genuine interest, not the polite tolerance he usually felt during interviews. Your last 3 assistants quit within 6 months. He leaned back in his chair. What makes you think you will be different? She smiled, and it transformed her face. Because I do not want your money or your connections. I want to be excellent at this job. That clarity tends to simplify things. You do not want my connections? I want to build my own. She shrugged. Maybe someday I will start my own company. Maybe I will do something else entirely. But whatever I do, I want it to be mine. Working for you is a step on that path, not the destination. It was possibly the most honest answer he had ever received in an interview. No flattery, no manipulation, just truth. When can you start? Amara blinked, clearly surprised. You do not want to check my references? Will they tell me anything different from what you just told me? Probably not. Then I will skip the formality. Julian stood, extending his hand. Monday, 8 a.m. Do not be late. She took his hand. Her grip was firm, professional, and brief. I am never late, Mr. Blackwood. She left, and Julian sat back down, staring at the closed door. Something had just happened. He was not sure what, but for the first time in months, he was looking forward to Monday. The first 6 months were professional. Perfectly, scrupulously professional. Amara was everything Julian had hoped for and more. She anticipated his needs before he articulated them. She handled difficult personalities with grace. She was never flustered, never emotional, never anything but completely competent. And she was never, ever impressed by him. That was the thing that got under his skin. Every other assistant had treated him like a celebrity, a force of nature, something to be managed or admired or feared. Amara treated him like a person. A demanding person with specific needs, but a person nonetheless. She pushed back when she thought he was wrong. She told him when his ideas were bad. She laughed at him when he was being ridiculous. And slowly, without Julian noticing, she became essential. Your 2 o'clock is here. Amara appeared in his doorway one afternoon, 6 months into her tenure. Also, you have not eaten since breakfast. I am ordering lunch. You will eat it. That was not a question. You cannot tell me what to eat. I can, if I am the one ordering it. She raised an eyebrow. Unless you want to start calling restaurants yourself. Julian found himself smiling. Fine. Whatever you think is best. She nodded, satisfied, and disappeared. Derek, who had been sitting across from Julian's desk, watched her go with an amused expression. You are in trouble. Julian frowned. What are you talking about? The way you look at her, like she hung the moon. Do not be ridiculous. She is my assistant. She is your assistant who you have not fired, despite the fact that she talks back to you constantly. She is your assistant who you stare at when she leaves a room. She is your assistant who you actually listen to when she tells you that you are wrong. Derek shook his head. You are absolutely in trouble. Julian dismissed the observation. Derek was being dramatic. He was always being dramatic. But that night, lying in bed in his empty penthouse, Julian found himself thinking about Amara, about her laugh, about the way she rolled her eyes when he was being difficult, about the way his chest felt lighter when she walked into a room. Trouble, indeed. The night everything changed happened 3 months later. Nexus was in crisis. A major acquisition had hit unexpected complications. Regulators were making noise. The other company's board was threatening to walk. Julian had not slept in 43 hours, and the deal was still slipping through his fingers. Amara had stayed with him through all of it, ordering food he barely touched, keeping the coffee flowing, fielding calls from board members and journalists and everyone else who wanted a piece of the chaos. At 2 a.m, Julian finally found the solution, a restructuring of the deal that satisfied everyone's concerns while preserving Nexus's strategic position. By 3 a.m, the final signatures were being collected electronically. The acquisition was saved. The crisis was over. Julian stood on his office balcony, 37 floors above a sleeping city, feeling exhaustion and triumph in equal measure. The door opened behind him. Amara appeared, her hair slightly disheveled from the long night, 2 glasses of champagne in her hands. I thought we could celebrate. Julian took the glass she offered. You should go home. Get some sleep. So should you. She joined him at the railing. But neither of us will, so we might as well toast to survival. They clinked glasses. The champagne was cold and perfect. We did it, Julian said. You did it. I just made the coffee. Do not do that. Julian turned to face her. You are not just an assistant, Amara. You are. He stopped, searching for the right words. You are the reason I did not fall apart this week. You are the reason this company functions. You are. She was looking at him now, really looking, her dark eyes reflecting the city lights. I am what? The silence stretched between them, heavy with something neither of them had acknowledged, something that had been building for 9 months, hiding beneath professional boundaries and careful distance. Julian set down his champagne glass. He should not do this. She worked for him. It was inappropriate. It was unprofessional. It was every complication he did not need. But when he looked at her, all he could think about was how it would feel to kiss her. Amara. His voice was rough. If I crossed a line right now, if I did something I should not do, would you stop me? She set down her own glass. No. He kissed her. It was not gentle. It was 9 months of tension finally breaking. Her hands came up to grip his shoulders. His arms wrapped around her waist. The city glittered below them, forgotten. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Amara's eyes were wide. That complicates things, she whispered. Yes, Julian agreed. It really does. But neither of them stepped back. Neither of them pretended it had not happened. So what do we do now? Amara asked. Julian looked at her. This woman, who had become essential to his days. This woman who challenged him and supported him and saw through all his defenses. I do not know, he admitted, but I know I do not want to stop. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled, that transformative smile that always hit him in the chest. Neither do I. It was reckless. It was probably a mistake. But standing on that balcony at 3 a.m, still high on victory and exhaustion and something new blooming between them, neither of them cared about probably. They only cared about this. About now. About finally acknowledging what had been true for months. They were falling in love. The next 6 months were the happiest of Julian's life. They kept their relationship secret at first, professional at work, careful in public, saving the real intimacy for private moments stolen between meetings and late nights. But keeping a secret from the world was very different from keeping a secret from themselves, and what was between them was too big to contain. I have never felt this way about anyone, Julian confessed one night, lying in his bed with Amara curled against his chest. It is terrifying. Good terrifying or bad terrifying? I do not know yet. He traced patterns on her shoulder. I have spent my whole life being careful, controlled, strategic. You make me want to throw all of that away. That sounds bad. It feels wonderful. He kissed her forehead. You make me feel like I could be someone different, someone better. You are already good. Amara propped herself up to look at him. You just do not let anyone see it. All those walls you have built, all that armor, underneath it, you are kind. You are funny. You actually care about people, even if you pretend you do not. Do not tell anyone, Julian smiled. It would ruin my reputation. Your secret is safe with me. They spent weekends at Julian's cabin upstate, far from photographers and society pages. They cooked dinner together, badly, laughing at their failures. They argued about books and politics and the proper way to load a dishwasher. Julian told her things he had never told anyone. About his lonely childhood in the Blackwood mansion. About a father who saw him as an extension of the family brand. About a mother who loved him in theory, but never in practice. About the constant pressure to be perfect, successful, worthy. And Amara told him her story. about losing both parents in a car accident when she was 19, about raising Zara while still in college, about working 3 jobs to pay for school, about building herself from nothing with no one to fall back on. They were different in almost every way: background, upbringing, expectations, but somehow, in the ways that mattered, they fit. "I want you to meet my family," Julian said one night, 4 months into their relationship. "Not the public introduction, just my sister, Rachel. She's the only one who might actually understand." "What about your parents?" Julian's face darkened. "My parents will never accept you. I know that sounds harsh, but it is the truth. They have very specific ideas about who I should be with. Someone from our social circle, someone who can enhance the family brand. They would see you as unsuitable. Because I am black? Because I am not rich? Because you are real." Julian took her hands. "Because you do not care about any of the things they worship. Because you would never let them control you. They would hate that." Amara was quiet. "Does that bother you? What they would think?" Julian looked at her for a long moment. His parents' voices echoed in his mind. Duty, legacy, the family name, all the things he had spent his life serving. "No," he said finally. "What they think does not matter. What I think matters. And I think you are the best thing that has ever happened to me." She kissed him then, soft and sweet and full of something that felt like forever. If only forever had not had an expiration date. Julian did not know that his father had already discovered everything. He did not know that Harrison Blackwood had hired private investigators, that photographs of Julian and Amara had been compiled in a file, that his father was already planning to end it. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. Julian was in his office, reviewing contracts, when his assistant knocked. "Your father is on the line." Amara's voice was professional, but he could see the concern in her eyes. "He says it is urgent." Julian picked up the phone with a sense of foreboding. "Father, you will come to the house tonight." Harrison's voice was cold. 7 o'clock. Do not be late." "What is this about?" 7 o'clock, Julian." "Do not make me come to you." The line went dead. That night, Julian drove to the Blackwood estate, with dread pooling in his stomach. The mansion rose out of the darkness like a monument to old money and older ambitions. 14 rooms, 6 acres, a building that had housed 5 generations of Blackwoods, each one more powerful than the last. His father waited in the study. Leather chairs, dark wood, portraits of ancestors staring down from the walls. The room where every important decision in Julian's life had been made for him. "Sit down." Harrison gestured to a chair. Julian remained standing. "What is this about?" Harrison tossed a manila folder onto the desk between them. Julian opened it and felt his blood turn to ice. Photographs, him and Amara at the cabin, at a restaurant in Brooklyn, walking together in Central Park. Intimate moments he had thought were private, captured and catalogued. "You have been following me. I have been protecting this family." Harrison's voice was flat. "The Okonkwo woman. How long?" "Her name is Amara, and that is none of your business. Everything you do is my business. You are my heir, my only son, the future of everything our family has built, and you are throwing it away on some nobody?" "She is not a nobody. She has nothing." Harrison stood, his face hard. "No family, no connections, no wealth. A woman who started as your assistant. Do you have any idea how that looks?" "I do not care how it looks." "Well, you should." Harrison stepped closer. "Maxwell Hartwell has approached me. He is interested in a merger between our companies. And he has a daughter, Penelope. Lovely girl, Harvard educated. Perfect for you. I am not marrying Penelope Hartwell. You will marry whoever I tell you to marry." Harrison's voice rose. "That is how this family works. That is how it has always worked. You do not get to choose some random woman because she makes you feel things. Feelings are irrelevant. Legacy is everything." Julian felt something harden inside him. "Legacy? You want to talk about legacy? What about the legacy of actually being happy? Of having a real relationship instead of a transaction? Your mother and I have been married for 40 years. And you hate each other." Julian shot back. "Everyone knows it. You barely speak. You sleep in separate rooms. That is your legacy. A marriage that is nothing but a business arrangement. I will not repeat your mistakes." Harrison's face went red. "You ungrateful. You have everything because of this family, because of the sacrifices I made. And this is how you repay me? I did not ask for your sacrifices. I did not ask to be your heir. I did not ask for any of this. Julian moved toward the door. I am done having this conversation. If you walk out that door, Harrison's voice stopped him. If you continue this relationship with that woman, I will destroy her. Julian turned slowly. What did you say? You heard me. Harrison's smile was cold. Her sister, Zara, she has considerable student debt. A few calls to the right people, and that debt becomes immediately due. Her nursing career? One whisper of impropriety, and it is over. The Okonkwo family has worked very hard to build their lives. It would be a shame if all of that disappeared. Julian felt cold, colder than he had ever felt. You would do that. You would destroy innocent people to get what you want. I would protect this family by any means necessary. Harrison sat back down, calmly straightening his cuffs. The merger with Hartwell Industries is too important. The marriage to Penelope is part of that deal. You will end things with the Okonkwo woman. You will begin courting Penelope, and in 6 months you will announce your engagement. And if I refuse, then her sister loses everything. Her career, her home, her future. Harrison shrugged. Is your relationship with this woman worth destroying her family? Julian stood frozen. He thought about Amara, about her smile, about the way she made him feel like he could be better. And he thought about Zara, about how Amara had sacrificed everything to raise her, about how devastated Amara would be if her sister's life was destroyed because of Julian's choices. His father had found his weak point, not Julian himself. Amara, the people she loved. You have 1 week, Harrison said. End it, or I make the calls. Julian left without another word. But he knew, even as he walked out the door, what he was going to do. He was going to break his own heart to protect the woman he loved. The hardest night of Julian's life came exactly 1 week later. He had spent 7 days trying to find another way. Lawyers, financial advisors, every resource at his disposal. But his father had been thorough. The threats were real. The consequences would be devastating. And Julian could not bear to be the reason Amara lost everything she had worked for. So he went to her apartment, the small space she had made into a home, the place where they had been happy. She opened the door with a smile that faded instantly when she saw his face. Julian? What is wrong? We need to talk. They sat on her couch, the same couch where they had spent countless hours talking and laughing and falling in love. Now, it felt like a funeral. I think we need to step back. Julian's voice was hollow. This relationship, it is complicated. My family obligations, the pressure from the board. I do not think I can give you what you deserve. Amara stared at him. Step back? What does that mean? It means, Julian forced himself to meet her eyes. It means I cannot do this anymore. The silence stretched between them. Julian watched as understanding dawned on her face. Confusion, turning to hurt, turning to something harder. You are ending this. Her voice was flat. After everything, you are just ending it. My family, the business. There are expectations. There are always expectations, Julian. She stood, putting distance between them. The question is whether you choose them over us. I thought. She stopped, her voice breaking. I thought we were building something. We are. You just what? Her eyes were bright with tears she refused to let fall. You just decided that your family's approval matters more than I do, that whatever they are threatening is worse than losing me. Julian wanted to tell her the truth, about his father's threats, about Zara, about everything, but if he told her, she would fight. She would refuse to let him sacrifice himself, and his father would follow through on every threat. The only way to protect her was to let her hate him. I am sorry. The words were ashes in his mouth. I thought I could fight for us, but I cannot. I am not strong enough. You are strong enough. Amara's voice was fierce. You are choosing not to be. There is a difference. Julian said nothing. There was nothing he could say. Amara stared at him for a long moment. Then something in her face changed, the hurt hardening into armor. Then go. Her voice was cold now. If you cannot fight for us, then go, and do not come back. Amara, I mean it. She moved to the door, opening it wide. You have made your choice. Now, live with it. Julian stood, walked to the door, stopped beside her. I never wanted to hurt you, but you did. She did not look at him. That is what matters. He left. The door closed behind him with a finality that felt like death. And Julian Blackwood walked away from the only woman he had ever loved, telling himself it was for her own good. He did not know she was already carrying his children. He would not find out for 9 months. Until a phone rang in a cathedral. Until his whole world fell apart and came back together in the space of a single afternoon. But that story, the story of what came after, the story of consequences and redemption and the long road back to trust, that story was just beginning. What Julian did not know was that Amara discovered she was pregnant exactly 2 weeks after he walked out of her apartment. She had been sick for days, exhausted, unable to keep food down. She told herself it was heartbreak, that her body was simply manifesting the pain that her mind could not process. But Zara knew better. Take the test. Her sister had insisted, just to rule it out. Amara had taken the test expecting nothing, expecting confirmation that she was simply falling apart in the aftermath of losing Julian. 2 pink lines changed everything. She sat on the bathroom floor of her apartment, staring at the little plastic stick, and felt her world rearrange itself. Pregnant, with Julian's children, though she did not know yet that there were 2. Her first instinct was to call him. Despite everything, despite his rejection, this was his child. He deserved to know. She called his office 3 times that first week. "I am sorry, Miss Okonkwo." His assistant's voice was polite but firm. "Mr. Blackwood is unavailable. He has asked that personal matters not be forwarded. Please, it is important. I will make a note of your call." But the call was never returned, and Amara's pride, already bruised beyond recognition, could not withstand another rejection. Then she saw the engagement announcement. It was everywhere. Every gossip site, every society page. Billionaire tech CEO engaged to Hartwell heiress. Julian and Penelope, smiling at some charity event, her hand on his arm, a ring glittering on her finger. 6 weeks. 6 weeks after he had told Amara he could not be with her, and he was engaged to someone else. The betrayal was complete. Amara put her hand on her stomach, where new life was just beginning to grow, and made a decision. She would raise this child alone. Julian had made his choice. He did not deserve to know about the baby. He did not deserve to be part of this new chapter. She would give her child everything Julian's family could not give. Real love, unconditional support, a mother who chose them over status and wealth and family expectation. It would be hard, but Amara had done hard things before. She had raised her sister alone. She had built a career from nothing. She could do this too. For the next 9 months, she did exactly that. She worked as long as she could, saving every penny. When her pregnancy became too visible to hide, she told her employer a version of the truth and took her maternity leave early. Zara moved in to help. Their tiny apartment became a nest of preparation. 2 cribs, because the ultrasound had revealed twins. 2 of everything. Purchased secondhand, but clean and ready. Amara talked to her daughters every night. Yes, daughters. Both girls. She had learned that at her 20-week scan, and something in her heart had settled at the news. Your father made a mistake. She would whisper to her belly. But that is his loss. You have me. You have your Aunt Zara. We are going to be okay. She did not let herself think about Julian. Did not let herself wonder what he was doing, whether he was happy, whether he ever thought about her. He had chosen his family, his legacy, his suitable bride. That chapter was closed. But late at night, when the babies kicked and she could not sleep, Amara sometimes let herself remember the way Julian looked at her, the promises he had made, the future she had thought they were building, and she wondered if she would ever stop loving him. The answer, she was beginning to suspect, was no. But loving someone and being with them were very different things, and Julian had made clear which one he wanted. So Amara focused on what she could control: her health, her preparation, her daughters. The rest would have to sort itself out. Labor started on a Tuesday morning. Early. Too early, according to her doctor. But twins often came ahead of schedule. Zara drove her to the hospital, calling everyone who needed to know. Their aunts in Florida, her former colleagues who had become friends. Everyone except one person. But Amara, between contractions, had grabbed her sister's arm. He should know. The words came out between gasps of pain. Even if he does not come, even if he does not care, he should know. Are you sure? No, Amara had admitted. But I do not want my daughters to ask someday why I did not tell their father. I do not want that on my conscience. So Zara had called, and called, and called again. Mr. Blackwood is unavailable. At his wedding, Julian was getting married today, the same day his daughters were being born. The irony was not lost on Amara. But Zara had not given up. She had texted, repeatedly, to every number she could find associated with Julian Blackwood. And finally, impossibly, one of those messages had gotten through. The nurse had been the one to call Julian's direct line, the one number Zara had never had access to. "Sir, you need to come right now." And Julian had come, walking out of his wedding, walking into her hospital room, walking back into her life. That moment, that first glimpse of him in the doorway still in his wedding tuxedo, would stay with Amara forever. The shock on his face, the devastation, the love that was still there, despite everything. And when he had held their daughters for the first time, tears streaming down his face, making promises she wanted so badly to believe, Amara had felt something she thought she had lost forever. Hope, terrifying, dangerous, fragile hope. The question now was whether Julian could prove that hope was justified, whether he could become the man his daughters needed, whether he could earn back the trust he had shattered. The road ahead was long. The obstacles were enormous, and Amara knew better than anyone that pretty words were not the same as action. But watching Julian hold Zuri and Nia, watching him look at them with pure transforming love, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, this story was not over. Maybe it was just beginning again. We have covered a lot of ground today. We have watched Julian walk away from everything his family expected. We have seen Amara give birth alone, only to have the man who broke her heart show up at the last possible moment. But the hardest part of their journey is still ahead. Tomorrow, Julian will face his family, the board, the consequences of his choice, and Amara will have to decide whether to trust a man who already hurt her once. Before we continue, hit that like button if you are feeling this story. Subscribe if you have not already, and drop a comment below telling me, if you were Amara, would you give Julian a second chance? Would you believe his promises? Or would you protect your heart and keep him at a distance? Your engagement helps this channel more than you know. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that it is never too late to choose differently. "Sir, you need to come right now." Nurse called a billionaire gets a call on his wedding day. His assistant just gave birth to his twin daughters. Part 2. Welcome back to Millionaire Love Tales. If you have not watched Part 1, I highly recommend going back to experience the full story. But for those who need a quick reminder, here is what happened. Julian Blackwood, Billionaire CEO, was standing at the altar about to marry Penelope Hartwell when his phone would not stop buzzing. 47 missed calls, 38 text messages, and then the words that changed everything. "Sir, you need to come right now. Room 712. She is having the babies. Twins." Julian walked out of his own wedding, ran to the hospital, and met his twin daughters, Zuri and Nia, for the first time. He promised Amara, the woman he had abandoned 9 months earlier, that he would prove himself worthy, that he would be there every single day. But promises are easy. Keeping them is hard. Now Julian has to face the consequences of his choice, his family, his business, the woman he humiliated. And somehow, in the middle of all that chaos, he has to prove to Amara that he has truly changed. Let us continue. The morning after the twins' birth, Julian woke in his penthouse apartment to the sound of his phone exploding with notifications. He had slept for maybe 3 hours. Fitful, dream-haunted sleep filled with images of tiny fingers and Amara's guarded eyes and 600 shocked faces in a cathedral. The penthouse felt different now. The sleek modern furniture, the art that cost more than most people's homes. The view of Manhattan that used to make him feel powerful. Now, it just felt empty. Julian showered and dressed in casual clothes. Jeans, a simple button-down shirt, no tie, no cufflinks worth more than a car. Just a man preparing to rebuild his life from the rubble he had created. His phone showed 243 missed calls, over 1,000 text messages. His email inbox had crashed twice from the volume. He ignored all of it except one message, from Derek. "Board meeting scheduled for 2 p.m. Your father is already here. It is going to be ugly. I will do what I can." Julian typed back a simple response. "I will be there." But first, he had somewhere else to be. The hospital was quieter in the morning light. Julian walked through the lobby with purpose, ignoring the stares from staff who recognized him from the news coverage that had apparently been running all night. He took the elevator to the 4th floor, found room 712, knocked softly. "Come in." Amara's voice, tired but alert, Julian pushed open the door and found her sitting up in bed, Zuri in her arms. Nia was sleeping in the bassinet nearby. Zara sat in the corner chair, her expression immediately hardening when she saw him. "You came back," Amara said. There was surprise in her voice that hurt him more than anger would have. "I told you I would." Julian moved closer, his eyes fixed on his daughter. "I told you I would be here every day. Did you think I was lying? I thought you might have come to your senses." Amara shifted Zuri gently. "Realized what you gave up. Changed your mind. The only thing I gave up was a lie." Julian sat in the chair beside her bed. "Everything I walked away from yesterday was something I never wanted in the first place. Except for you. Except for this." Zara made a sound of disbelief from her corner. "Pretty words, Blackwood, but you have a board meeting in a few hours. A family that is probably plotting your destruction. A scandal that is all over every news channel. How long before all of that pulls you away?" "As long as it takes." Julian met her hostile gaze steadily. "I have a meeting at 2. I will handle what needs to be handled. And then I will come back here. Tonight. Tomorrow. Every day until Amara tells me to stop. And if she tells you to stop today, then I will respect that. But I will keep trying. Keep showing up. Keep proving that I am not the man who walked away 9 months ago." Amara was quiet, watching him. Julian could not read her expression, and it terrified him more than any boardroom confrontation. "Hold your daughter," she said finally. "You should learn how." She transferred Zuri into his arms, showing him how to support the baby's head, how to cradle her properly. Zuri opened her eyes, dark and unfocused, and seemed to study his face. "She knows you," Amara said softly. "She was born knowing you." Julian felt tears threatening again. He blinked them back. "How is that possible? Science would say it is not." She shrugged. "But I talked to them every night. I told them about their father, the good parts, the parts I fell in love with. You talked about me. You are half of them." Amara's voice was careful, controlled. "Whatever happened between us, that is still true. I did not want them to grow up only knowing the worst of you." "What did you tell them?" "That you were smart, that you could be kind when you let yourself, that you loved me once, even if you did not love me enough." She looked away. "I did not tell them how you left. They will learn that part eventually. But I wanted their first impression of you to be something other than abandonment." Julian looked down at Zuri, at this tiny person who had heard stories about him before she was even born, who had been loved into existence despite everything he had done wrong. "Thank you." His voice cracked. "I do not deserve that kindness." "No," Amara agreed. "You do not. But I did not do it for you. I did it for them." Nia stirred in her bassinet, making small sounds of displeasure. Zara moved to pick her up, but Julian spoke first. "Can I?" Zara looked at Amara, who nodded. Carefully, with Zara's grudging guidance, Julian learned to hold both daughters at once, one in each arm, the weight of his entire future cradled against his chest. "They are so small," he whispered. "They will grow." Amara watched him with something that might have been hope, carefully hidden. That is what babies do. Julian stayed for 2 hours. He held his daughters. He listened to the nurses explain feeding schedules and diaper changes and the hundreds of small things newborns needed. He memorized every detail of their faces. And when it was time to go, when the board meeting loomed and the consequences of his choices demanded attention, he handed the twins back to Amara with a reluctance that surprised even him. "I will be back tonight," he promised, "after everything is handled. If you still have a company to run," Zara muttered. "Then I will be back with more time for my daughters." Julian headed for the door, then stopped. "Amara, whatever happens today, whatever my family does or the board decides, it does not change anything. This is where I want to be. You and Zuri and Nia, you are what matters." He left before she could respond, but as he walked down the hospital corridor, he carried with him the image of her face. The walls still up, the trust still missing. But something else too, something that looked almost like belief. The board meeting was exactly as brutal as Julian had expected. Nexus Technologies occupied 3 floors of a midtown skyscraper. Julian had built this company from a startup in his apartment to a $4 billion enterprise. Every corner of this building bore his fingerprints, his vision, his relentless drive. Now 15 people sat around a mahogany conference table, looking at him like he was a stranger. His father sat at the far end, face carved from stone. Maxwell Hartwell occupied a guest chair, his presence a clear signal of the battle lines being drawn. Derek sat to Julian's right, loyal but worried. The other board members represented a mix of old money investors and new tech allies, people who had believed in Julian's vision, people who were now questioning everything. Let us begin. Harrison's voice was ice. We are here to discuss the future of this company in light of recent events. Julian remained standing. Recent events, meaning my choice to be present for the birth of my children. Recent events meaning your public humiliation of the Hartwell family. Maxwell interjected. His voice was controlled, but his eyes promised violence. Your destruction of a merger worth $300 million. Your utter disregard for every agreement you made. I made an agreement to marry your daughter. Julian kept his voice calm. That was a mistake. One I should have corrected months ago, instead of at the altar. I take full responsibility for the pain I caused Penelope, but I will not apologize for choosing to be with my children. Children you did not know existed until yesterday. One of the board members, a silver-haired woman named Evelyn Cross, spoke carefully. This is quite a revelation, Julian. An assistant. A secret relationship. Now twins. It raises questions about your judgment. My judgment built this company. Julian finally sat, taking his place at the head of the table. My judgment took us from a startup to a market leader. My judgment has increased shareholder value by 300% in 6 years. One personal decision does not erase that track record. One personal decision that has tanked our stock by 11%. Another board member, Thomas Reed, consulted his tablet. Overnight, with more losses expected when the markets fully react. Stocks fluctuate. Julian responded, they will recover when the news cycle moves on. In 3 months, no one will remember this scandal. In a year, it will be a footnote. You seem very confident. Harrison's voice cut through. For a man who just destroyed his family's most important alliance. I destroyed an alliance that was built on a lie. Julian met his father's gaze directly. I was never going to be happy with Penelope. She was never going to be happy with me. Eventually, that truth would have come out. The merger would have collapsed anyway, just with more damage and more collateral. So, you did everyone a favor? Maxwell's laugh was bitter. Is that your position? My position is that I made a choice. A difficult choice with significant consequences. I am here to manage those consequences, not to pretend they do not exist. The debate continued for 2 hours. Julian answered every question, addressed every concern, presented data on the company's fundamental strength, argued that his personal life did not affect his professional capabilities. Some board members seemed persuaded. Others remained hostile. The vote, when it finally came, was closer than Julian would have liked. 8-7. Julian retained his position as CEO, but the conditions were severe. Monthly performance reviews, restrictions on major decisions without board approval, a formal statement expressing regret for the disruption caused. Julian agreed to all of it. None of it mattered compared to what he had gained. As the meeting adjourned, Derek fell into step beside him. That was close. Derek's voice was low. Hartwell is already making calls. He's going to come after you personally. Let him. Julian kept walking. I have faced worse. Have you? Because right now you have your father plotting against you, your business under unprecedented scrutiny, and a woman who may never fully trust you again. That is a lot of battles to fight simultaneously. Then, it is a good thing I finally have something worth fighting for. They reached Julian's office. Through the glass walls, he could see his assistant, the one who had blocked Amara's calls, the one who had followed his instructions perfectly and catastrophically, waiting nervously. I need to deal with this, Julian said to Derek. Then I am going back to the hospital. Julian. Derek caught his arm. I have known you for 15 years. I have never seen you like this. This focused, this clear. Whatever happened in that hospital room, it changed something in you. I met my daughters. Julian smiled, and it felt unfamiliar on his face. Something genuine, something real. That changes everything. He entered his office and closed the door. His assistant, a young man named Thomas who had been with him for 2 years, stood immediately. Mr. Blackwood, I am so sorry. I had no idea those calls were important. You told me to screen personal matters and I... Stop. Julian held up a hand. You followed my instructions. The fault is mine, not yours. But the woman. The babies. If I had just... Thomas. Julian sat behind his desk. I gave you an impossible situation. I told you to protect me from my own past. That was my mistake. But I need to ask you something now. Over the past 9 months, how many times did Amara Okonkwo or anyone connected to her try to reach me? Thomas swallowed. I would need to check the logs, but at least a dozen times, maybe more. Julian closed his eyes. A dozen times. Amara had tried a dozen times to tell him about his children, and every single attempt had been blocked by a wall he himself had built. Pull those records, Julian said quietly. Every call, every message. I want to see all of it. Yes, sir. Thomas hesitated. And my position? Am the Ersta. Your position is secure. Julian opened his eyes. But going forward, anything from Amara Okonkwo or her family comes directly to me. No screening, no delays, no matter what I previously said. Understood. Thomas left, and Julian sat alone in his office, staring at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, in a hospital room, his daughters were discovering the world. And he was here, dealing with the wreckage of choices he wished he could unmake. But he could not unmake them. He could only move forward, make better choices, prove himself worthy of the second chance he had been given. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. This is Zara. Do not get excited. I am only texting because Amara asked me to. She wants you to know that the babies are doing well, and that you should eat something. She says you forget to eat when you are stressed. Julian read the message 3 times. Such a small thing. A reminder to eat. But it meant Amara was thinking about him. That somewhere beneath all that hurt and distrust, she still cared. He typed back a response. Tell her thank you. Tell her I will bring dinner when I come tonight. Tell her I am not going anywhere. Zara's reply came 30 seconds later. I will tell her. But Blackwood, do not make me regret giving you her messages. I will end you if you hurt her again. Julian smiled at his phone. Understood. I expect nothing less. He ordered food, forcing himself to eat. Then he spent the next 4 hours putting out fires. Calls with investors, strategy sessions with his legal team, a carefully worded statement for the press acknowledging the failed wedding and asking for privacy during a personal matter. By 7 p.m., he was exhausted. But he had made a promise. He stopped at a restaurant near the hospital, ordering Amara's favorite foods, things he remembered from their time together. Jollof rice, fried plantains, a specific kind of ginger drink she loved. When he arrived at her room, arms full of containers, Amara's eyes widened. You actually brought dinner. I said I would. Julian set everything up on the small table by her bed. I remember what you like. I hope that is okay. Zara watched the whole production with narrowed eyes. But when Julian offered her a container, she took it without comment. They ate together, the 4 of them. Julian and Amara and Zara with the twins sleeping peacefully nearby. It was awkward at first. Too much history in the room. Too many unspoken words. But slowly, carefully, conversation began to flow. How was your meeting? Amara asked. Brutal. Julian did not sugarcoat it. The board is unhappy. Hartwell wants my head. My father is plotting something, but I kept my position. For now. And your mother? I have not spoken to her yet. That is tomorrow's battle. Amara nodded slowly. You have a lot of battles ahead. I know. Julian met her eyes. But I have something to fight for now. That makes everything easier. After dinner, Julian helped clean up. He held Zuri while Amara fed Nia. He changed his first diaper under Zara's critical supervision, fumbling badly but refusing to give up. By 9 p.m., Amara was fading, the exhaustion of childbirth catching up with her. You should rest, Julian said gently. I can stay. Watch the babies while you sleep. I do not think. Amara hesitated. I am not sure I am ready for that. He understood immediately, not ready to sleep while he was in the room. Not ready to be that vulnerable. Okay. He stood, gathering his things. I will go, but I will be back tomorrow morning. Is that all right? Amara looked at him for a long moment. The walls were still up, the trust still absent. But something else was there too, the beginning of something that might, with time and patience, grow into belief. Tomorrow morning, she said finally. Bring coffee, the good kind. Hospital coffee is terrible. Done. He left feeling lighter than he had in months. It was not forgiveness. Not even close, but it was a start. The confrontation with his mother came the following evening. Julian had spent the day at the hospital learning how to care for his daughters, how to swaddle them properly, how to recognize the difference between a hungry cry and a tired cry, how to hold them so they felt secure. Amara had watched him struggle and learn and refuse to give up, and something in her expression had softened incrementally. But there were still pieces of his old life that needed to be dealt with, and his mother had demanded a meeting. The Blackwood estate loomed against the evening sky like a monument to everything Julian was walking away from. He had grown up in this house, taken his first steps on these floors, learned to read in the library, been punished for every failure in his father's study. It had never felt like home. His mother waited in the parlor, a room decorated in ivory and gold that she had always preferred for difficult conversations. She stood as he entered, her face a mask of controlled fury. "Julian." Her voice was clipped. "How good of you to finally make time, Mother." Julian did not sit. "I assumed you would want to speak." "Want to speak?" Vivian's composure cracked slightly. "My son abandoned his wedding, destroyed a business alliance, humiliated our family in front of everyone we know, and you assumed I would want to speak. I assumed correctly then. Do not be flippant with me." Vivian stepped closer. "Do you have any idea what you have done? The Hartwells are telling everyone we cannot be trusted. Half our social circle has already distanced themselves. Your father has been on the phone for 2 days trying to salvage what he can. And how is father's salvage operation going?" "Poorly." A voice from the doorway. Harrison entered, looking older than Julian had ever seen him. "The damage you have done will take years to repair. If it can be repaired at all, then maybe it is not worth repairing." Julian faced both his parents. Maybe a legacy built on arranged marriages and business transactions is not a legacy worth preserving. "How dare you?" Vivian's voice rose. "Everything we have done has been for this family. For you. For me." Julian laughed, and there was no humor in it. "Nothing you have done has been for me. It has been for the Blackwood name, for the company, for the social position you care about more than your own children. That is not fair, is it not? When was the last time either of you asked what I wanted? What would make me happy?" He looked between them. "You arranged my entire life like a business deal, and when I finally made a choice for myself, you threatened to destroy innocent people to stop me." Harrison's expression flickered. "That was never going to happen. I was bluffing." "Were you?" Julian stepped closer to his father. "Because I was not willing to take that risk. I walked away from the woman I loved because you convinced me you would ruin her sister's life. Do you understand what that cost me? What it almost cost my daughters?" "Your daughters." Vivian's voice dripped with disdain. "Born out of wedlock to your former assistant. Do you think that is something to be proud of?" "Yes." Julian's voice was firm. "I am proud of them. I am proud of their mother. I am proud that despite everything I did wrong, I was given a chance to be there when they came into this world. And the Hartwell girl, your actual fiancée, what about her? Penelope deserved better than what I gave her," Julian admitted. "But she also deserved better than a marriage to someone who could never love her. I made terrible choices. I hurt people who did not deserve it, but marrying her would have been the worst choice of all." Vivian exchanged a glance with Harrison. Some silent communication passed between them. "What do you want from us, Julian?" Harrison asked finally. "Are you here to demand our acceptance? Our blessing for this relationship? I am here to tell you how things are going to be." Julian straightened to his full height. "I have 2 daughters. Their names are Zuri and Nia. Their mother is Amara Okonkwo. I love her. I want to build a life with her, if she will have me. And if we cannot accept that, then you will not be part of my life, or my daughters' lives. Your choice." The silence that followed was heavy. Julian could see his parents processing, calculating, weighing options as they always did. Finally, his father spoke. "You would really walk away from this family?" "I already have." Julian headed for the door. "The question is whether you want to be part of my new family. Think about it. Let me know when you have decided." He left without waiting for a response. In the car, on the way back to the hospital, Julian felt something he had not felt in years. Freedom. Real freedom. Not the freedom of wealth or power, but the freedom of finally being honest about who he was and what he wanted. His parents might never accept Amara and the twins. The social world he had grown up in might never welcome them. The business consequences might continue for years, but none of that mattered as much as the family waiting for him in room 712. For the first time in his life, Julian knew exactly where he belonged. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of sleepless nights and small victories. Amara was discharged from the hospital 5 days after the birth. Julian helped her move back to her apartment, a small 2-bedroom space in a neighborhood that was modest by his standards and perfectly comfortable by hers. He offered to get her somewhere bigger, somewhere with more room for the twins. She refused. "This is my home." Her voice was firm. "I built this life myself. I am not going to let you swoop in and change everything just because you have money. I'm not trying to change anything." Julian set down the box he was carrying. "I just want to help. Then help by respecting my boundaries." Amara's eyes were tired but determined. "I know you want to fix everything, buy solutions, make things easier, but some things cannot be bought. Trust cannot be bought. A relationship cannot be bought. If you want to be part of our lives, it has to be on equal terms." "Equal terms." Julian nodded slowly. "What does that look like?" "It looks like you showing up, not with expensive gifts or grand gestures. Just showing up, being present, doing the unglamorous work of being a parent. I can do that. We will see." So Julian showed up. Every morning before work, bringing coffee and breakfast. Every evening after work, bringing dinner and extra hands. He learned to function on 4 hours of sleep. Learned to change diapers without gagging. Learned to recognize which twin was crying by the sound alone. Zuri was the quiet one, content to observe the world with her serious dark eyes. She rarely cried unless she was genuinely hungry or uncomfortable. Julian found himself having one-sided conversations with her during late-night feedings, telling her about his day, his worries, his hopes for her future. Nia was the loud one. She had opinions about everything and was not shy about expressing them. Her cries could wake the entire building. But she also smiled first, at just 12 days old, a gummy little grin that made Julian's heart crack open. Amara watched him learn and struggle and persist, and slowly, incrementally, her walls began to come down. "You are actually trying," she said one night, 3 weeks in. They were both exhausted, sitting on her couch while the twins slept in their bassinets nearby. "I did not think you would. I thought you would give up when it got hard." "It is hard," Julian admitted. "Harder than anything I have done in business. But I look at them, and I know I would do anything. Face anything. I missed 9 months of their existence. I will not miss any more." Amara was quiet for a moment. "I was scared to tell you about them, scared you would try to take them away. Use your money and your lawyers to fight me for custody. I would never do that. I know that now." She met his eyes. "But I did not know it then. All I knew was that you left me, that you were getting married to someone else. I thought if you knew about the twins, you would either ignore them completely or try to control everything. Either option terrified me. And now I see a man who holds his daughters like they are the most precious things in the world, who shows up even when he is exhausted, who listens when I tell him to back off instead of bulldozing through my boundaries." She paused. "I'm starting to believe you really have changed." "I have." Julian took her hand gently, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. He breathed a small sigh of relief when she did not. Meeting them changed me. But it started before that. It started at the altar, when I realized I would rather destroy my entire life than miss being there when they were born. That was a dramatic choice. I have been making safe choices for 34 years. He smiled slightly. I was overdue for a dramatic one. Amara almost laughed. Almost. It was the closest to joy he had seen from her since before everything fell apart. Progress. Slow. Fragile. But real. The media attention faded eventually, as Julian had predicted. New scandals emerged. New celebrities behaved badly. The story of the billionaire who walked out of his wedding became old news, replaced by fresher outrages. But some consequences lingered. Maxwell Hartwell made good on his threats. Business relationships that Julian had cultivated for years suddenly went cold. Contracts that should have been routine became complicated. The whisper network of wealth and power, which Harrison Blackwood had dominated for decades, turned against his son. Julian fought back strategically. He focused on new partnerships with people who did not care about his personal life. He doubled down on innovation, releasing products that made Nexus impossible to ignore regardless of whose parties he was invited to. The stock recovered, then exceeded its previous high. Money talked louder than gossip, and Julian had plenty of both. His father, surprisingly, was the first of his parents to reach out. The call came 6 weeks after the twins' birth. Julian was in his office, reviewing quarterly projections, when his assistant announced that Harrison Blackwood was on the line. Julian hesitated, then picked up. "Father, Julian." Harrison's voice was gruff, uncomfortable. "I have been thinking about what you said, and I may have been wrong about some things." Julian leaned back in his chair. "That is a significant admission. Do not push your luck." Harrison cleared his throat. "I spent 67 years believing that legacy was everything, that personal feelings were secondary to family duty. That is what my father taught me, what his father taught him. And now I have a granddaughter who smiled at me from a photograph your sister showed me." Harrison's voice cracked almost imperceptibly. "I have 2 granddaughters I have never met because I was too stubborn to admit I was wrong. You threatened Amara's family. You tried to control my life. I know, and I cannot undo that. But I can try to be better going forward, if you will let me." Julian was silent for a long moment. This was not the man he had grown up with. The Harrison Blackwood who had taught him that vulnerability was weakness, that love was leverage, that family was a corporation to be managed. But people could change. He was proof of that. "I will talk to Amara," Julian said finally. "If she is willing, you can meet your granddaughters. But on her terms, in her space, and if you say or do anything that disrespects her or her family, you will never see them again." "Understood." Harrison paused. "Julian, I am proud of you, for what you built, for the man you are becoming. I know I have not said that before. I should have." Julian felt tears threatening. He blinked them back. "Thank you, Father." After hanging up, he sat in the silence of his office, processing. His father had apologized, had admitted he was wrong, had expressed pride. It should not feel like such a momentous occasion. But in the Blackwood family, it was revolutionary. His mother took longer. 2 months after the twins' birth, she still had not reached out, still had not acknowledged her granddaughter's existence. But Julian found he did not need her acceptance the way he once had. He had his daughters. He had Amara, slowly learning to trust him again. He had his father, tentatively rebuilding their relationship. If Vivian chose to stay away, that was her loss. The twins were 3 months old when Amara finally let Julian stay the night. Not in her bed, not romantically, just on the couch so she could get more than 2 hours of consecutive sleep without worrying about the babies. But it was a milestone. A sign that she trusted him enough to be unconscious in his presence, trusted him with her daughters unsupervised. Julian took the responsibility seriously. He woke every time either twin stirred, changed diapers, prepared bottles, walked the floor with Nia when she decided that 3 a.m. was the perfect time to practice her vocal range. By morning, he was exhausted and exhilarated. He had done it. He had made it through an entire night as the primary caregiver. Amara emerged from her bedroom looking more rested than he had seen her in months. "They slept?" she asked incredulously. "They slept? Well, Nia has some thoughts around 3. But we worked it out." Amara looked at him. Really looked at him. At the circles under his eyes. The baby spit up on his shoulder. The genuine pride in his voice. "Thank you," she said softly. "I needed that. I am happy to do it any time." Julian meant it. "Every night if you want. Let us not get ahead of ourselves." But there was a smile in her voice. "Maybe once a week. To start, once a week became twice a week. Then 3 times. Slowly, without either of them explicitly discussing it, Julian became a fixture in the apartment. His clothes in a drawer. His toiletries in the bathroom. His presence expected rather than negotiated. They still were not together. Not officially. But they were partners in the most fundamental sense. Raising 2 children together, building something neither of them had expected. "Are we doing this?" Julian asked one night, 4 months after the twins' birth. They were on the couch, the babies asleep, some movie playing unwatched on the television. Amara was leaning against his shoulder, the most physically close they had been since before everything fell apart. "Doing what?" "This." He gestured vaguely. "Building a life together, whatever this is." Amara was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want this to be?" "I want everything." Julian turned to face her. "I want you. I want our daughters. I want to fall asleep with you every night and wake up with you every morning. I want to be your partner, your equal, your person. But I will take whatever you are willing to give. Even if it is never more than this, even then, But I hope it is more. I hope you can learn to trust me again. I hope someday you can love me again." Amara's eyes glistened. "I never stopped loving you, Julian. That was the hardest part, hating what you did while still loving who you are." "I am sorry." Julian cupped her face gently. "I am so sorry for all of it. For leaving, for not fighting, for every moment you spent alone when I should have been with you. I know." She leaned into his touch. "I believe you now." "Does that mean—" "It means I am willing to try." She pulled back slightly, meeting his eyes. "Really try. Not just co-parenting. Not just being friendly. Actually being together. If you still want that, I have never wanted anything more." He kissed her then. Soft. Careful. A question rather than a statement. She answered by pulling him closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Julian pressed his forehead against hers. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you, Amara. I have loved you since the day you walked into my office and told me my interview questions were predictable." She laughed, a real laugh, and the sound was the most beautiful thing he had ever heard. "I love you too," she said. "Even though you are an absolute disaster of a human being, the most well-dressed disaster you have ever seen, your ego is still insufferable. You love my ego. I tolerate your ego." She kissed him again. "I love you." And in that moment, surrounded by baby toys and burp cloths and the quiet breathing of their sleeping daughters, Julian felt something he had chased his entire life without knowing it. Home. He was finally home. If you are invested in Julian and Amara's journey, hit that subscribe button right now. We are heading into the final chapter of this story, and trust me, you do not want to miss how it ends. Drop a comment telling me, do you think Julian has truly changed? Does he deserve this second chance? Let me know your thoughts. 6 months after the twins' birth, Julian did something he had been planning for weeks. He took Amara to the restaurant, where they had their first real date. A small Italian place in Brooklyn, far from the world of society pages and paparazzi. The same worn tablecloths, the same candles and wine bottles, the same menu they had shared 2 years ago. "You are being nostalgic," Amara said, looking around. "I remember this place. Our first date." Julian pulled out her chair. "You told me that night that you did not want my money or my connections, that you wanted to build something of your own." "I remember." She sat, accepting the menu from the waiter. "You looked at me like I had said something shocking. Because you had. No one had ever said anything like that to me before. Everyone wanted something, but you just wanted to be excellent at your job. And now you are excellent at far more than any job." Julian reached across the table to take her hand. "You are the best mother I have ever seen. The strongest person I know, the only one who tells me when I am being an idiot. You are frequently an idiot. I am aware." He laughed. "It is part of my charm." They ordered food, ate, talked, fell back into the easy rhythm they had discovered years ago, before everything had gone wrong. But there was something different now, something deeper. They had been through fire together, separately. They had found their way back. After dinner, Julian reached into his pocket. "Amara, I need to ask you something." Her eyes widened slightly. "Julian, we talked about this. We agreed to take things slowly. I know, and I will respect whatever answer you give. But I need to ask." He pulled out a small velvet box, opened it to reveal a ring. Not the massive diamond he had given Penelope. Something different, a vintage design with sapphires surrounding a modest center stone. "This was my grandmother's," he said. "My father's mother. She died when I was 12, but I remember her telling me that someday I would give this ring to someone who made me want to be better. Someone who saw me, not the money or the name. Julian, I know it is fast. I know we have only been officially together for 2 months. I know you have every reason to say no." He took a breath. "But I have spent my whole life waiting to feel this sure about something, about someone, and I do not want to waste any more time." Amara stared at the ring, at him, her expression unreadable. Julian felt his heart pounding. He had never been this vulnerable, never risked this much. Finally, she spoke. "2 years ago, you walked into my life and turned everything upside down. You made me laugh. You made me feel seen. Then you broke my heart in ways I did not think I could survive. Amara, let me finish." Her voice was firm. "I spent 9 months hating you, loving you, trying to forget you, preparing to raise our daughters without you. And then you showed up, in a wedding tuxedo, having just walked out on your own marriage. The worst entrance imaginable. The most dramatic entrance imaginable. She almost smiled. But since then you have been everything you promised. You have shown up every single day. You have respected my boundaries. You have earned my trust. You have been the father our daughters deserve. So, yes. She reached for the ring box, taking it from his trembling hands. Yes, Julian Blackwood, I will marry you. The restaurant erupted in applause. Julian had not even noticed the other diners watching. He did not care. All he saw was Amara, slipping his grandmother's ring onto her finger, smiling at him with tears in her eyes. He stood, pulling her into his arms, kissing her in front of everyone. I love you, he said against her lips. I am going to spend the rest of my life proving I deserve this. You better. She laughed through her tears. Because if you mess this up, Zara really will kill you. Worth the risk. They went home to their daughters that night. Zuri was awake, watching them with her serious eyes. Nia was sleeping, for once peaceful and quiet. Julian looked at his family, his real family, the one he had almost lost, the one he had fought to build, and he knew, with absolute certainty, that this was exactly where he was meant to be. The wedding took place 8 months after the proposal. Not 600 guests in a cathedral, not a $2 million production designed to impress society pages. 40 people in a garden, their closest friends, their real family, the people who had supported them through everything. Derek was best man again, and this time he did not have to talk Julian off a ledge. This time, Julian was calm, certain, ready. Zara was maid of honor, having finally fully accepted that Julian was not going anywhere. She had threatened him one more time the night before just to keep him humble, but there was warmth in her voice now. The twins, almost a year old, were the flower girls, or they would have been, if either of them understood the concept. Instead, they sat in their grandmother's laps, one with Vivian Blackwood, who had finally come around, and one with Harrison, who doted on his granddaughters with a tenderness Julian had never seen in him before. Amara walked down the aisle in a simple white dress, nothing like the elaborate gown she might have worn in a different life. She was beautiful, radiant, perfect, but it was her eyes that Julian could not look away from. Clear and bright and full of love, full of trust. Trust he had earned. Trust he would spend the rest of his life honoring. The vows they exchanged were simple. No poetry, no grand declarations, just truth. I promise to show up, Julian said, every day. For you, for our daughters, for whatever family we build together. I promise to listen, to respect your boundaries, to be your partner, not your project. I promise to keep earning your trust, because I know it is a gift, not a right. I promise to be the man you deserve, every single day. I promise to let you in. Amar replied, to stop waiting for you to disappoint me, to believe in the man you have become. I promise to be your partner, to build something real with you, to raise our daughters to know what genuine love looks like. I promise to love you, even when you are an insufferable disaster, especially then. Laughter rippled through the guests. Julian felt tears streaming down his face. He did not care who saw. The officiant pronounced them married. Julian kissed his wife. Their daughters clapped, not understanding why, but delighted anyway. And Julian Blackwood, Billionaire CEO, former society golden boy, man who had once walked out of his own wedding, finally got the marriage he actually wanted. One built on love, on trust, on two people choosing each other, every single day. 5 years later, Julian stood in the kitchen of their brownstone, attempting to make breakfast, while Zuri and Nia ran circles around him. Daddy, I want pancakes, Zuri announced, climbing onto a stool, with chocolate chips. Daddy, I want waffles, Nia countered. With strawberries. Daddy wants coffee, Julian muttered. But Daddy will make both. Amara entered, already dressed for work. She had started her own consulting firm 3 years ago, helping tech companies build more inclusive cultures. It was thriving. You are spoiling them, she said, kissing his cheek. They deserve spoiling. They deserve boundaries. They deserve both. Julian flipped a pancake with one hand while pouring waffle batter with the other. He had become surprisingly competent at multitasking since becoming a father. The morning chaos continued. Breakfast, getting the girls ready for school. The usual negotiations about hair and clothing that somehow took longer than any board meeting Julian had ever attended. At the door, as Julian was about to leave for work, Nia tugged on his sleeve. Daddy, Why are there old pictures of you marrying someone else? Julian felt his heart skip. They had known this question would come eventually. Nia had found old photos online, her curious mind always searching for information. He knelt down to her level. Because Daddy made a mistake, sweetheart. A big one. I was supposed to marry someone I did not love because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. But you did not marry her. No, I did not. Julian smiled. Because your mommy was having you and your sister. And I realized that being with you was more important than anything else. So, you left the wedding? I left the wedding. I ran to the hospital. And I got to hold you and Zuri for the first time. He tucked a strand of hair behind Nia's ear. It was the best decision I ever made. Nia considered this. That was brave. I do not know if it was brave. It was scary. But it was right. Being scared and doing it anyway is brave, Zuri said solemnly. Having listened to the whole conversation, that is what Mrs. Patterson says at school. Then I guess I was brave. Julian hugged both his daughters. And I got the best reward, the best family anyone could ever have. Amara watched from the doorway, her eyes soft. After the girls left for school, she turned to Julian. You handled that well. We knew it was coming. Julian pulled her close. The internet is forever. They were going to find out eventually. And they will find out more. About your family. About how you almost married someone else. About all of it. And we will explain. Together. He kissed her forehead. We will teach them that people make mistakes. That what matters is what you do next. How you grow. How you earn back trust. You really have grown. Amara smiled. The man I met 6 years ago could never have had that conversation. The man you met 6 years ago was an idiot. Julian laughed. A well-dressed idiot, but an idiot nonetheless. Still insufferable, though. You love me anyway. I really do. She kissed him properly. Now go to work. Some of us have empires to run. Julian headed to the door, then paused. Amara, thank you. For what? For giving me a second chance. For letting me prove myself. For every day of this life we have built. I know I do not say it enough, but I am grateful. Every single day. Amara's expression softened. You say it plenty. With actions, which matters more. Now go. Be a mogul. I will see you tonight. Julian walked to his car, looking back once at the brownstone where his family lived. Where his children grew. Where his wife had built a life with him, despite every reason not to. He thought about the man he used to be. The man who had stood at an altar about to make the worst mistake of his life. The man who had almost missed everything that mattered. And he thought about the man he was now. Not perfect. Still making mistakes daily. But present. Committed. Worthy of the trust that had been placed in him. The phone in his pocket buzzed. A message from Zari. Happy anniversary. 5 years since you stopped being an idiot. Julian smiled, typing back a response. Best 5 years of my life. Thank you for not ending me, like you threatened. Her reply came seconds later. The day is young. Do not mess up. He laughed and got in his car, driving toward a day filled with meetings and decisions and the ordinary business of running a company. But underneath all of it, steady as a heartbeat, was the knowledge that tonight he would go home. To Amara, to Zuri and Nia, to the life that had seemed impossible 5 years ago. A life built not on legacy or expectation but on love. Real love. The kind that is earned. The kind that requires showing up even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. That was Julian's life now. And he would not trade it for anything. And now, let us talk about what Julian and Amara's story can teach us. Because this is not just entertainment. This is a masterclass in some of life's most important lessons. Lesson 1. The cost of living for other people's approval. Julian spent 34 years trying to be the son his parents expected. The CEO the board demanded. The society figure the world anticipated. And where did it get him? Standing at an altar about to marry someone he did not love. Watching the woman who actually had his heart raise his children alone. When we make major life decisions based on what others expect instead of what we genuinely want, we set ourselves up for inevitable unhappiness. Studies consistently show that people who prioritize external approval over internal authenticity report lower life satisfaction, higher rates of depression, and more relationship difficulties. The question to ask yourself before any major decision is simple. Is this my choice, or am I performing a role someone else wrote for me? If you find yourself constantly seeking approval, constantly adjusting who you are to meet expectations, take a step back. Whose life are you actually living? Lesson 2. Communication is not optional in relationships. Julian never told Amara about his father's threats. He thought he was protecting her. In reality, he was making a unilateral decision that affected both of them without giving her a voice. Amara tried to tell Julian about the pregnancy. Communication is not optional in relationships. Julian never told Amara about his father's threats. He thought he was protecting her. In reality, he was making a unilateral decision that affected both of them without giving her a voice. Amara tried to tell Julian about the pregnancy, but gave up when she could not get through. She thought she was protecting herself and her children. In reality, she deprived her daughters of their father for 9 critical months. Both of them suffered because they chose silence over vulnerability. Research on long-term relationship success shows that communication during conflict is the single strongest predictor of whether a couple will stay together. Not the absence of conflict, the ability to communicate through it. Healthy communication looks like honesty about fears, vulnerability about needs, and collaborative problem solving. It looks like saying "this scares me" instead of making decisions alone. It looks like "I need you to hear this" instead of assuming the worst. Whatever you think you are protecting by staying silent, you are probably making worse. The temporary discomfort of a difficult conversation is almost always better than the long-term damage of secrets and assumptions. Lesson 3. Second chances are earned, not given. Julian showed up at the hospital with pretty words and dramatic gestures, but Amara did not trust him because of what he said. She trusted him because of what he did. Day after day, week after week, month after month. He changed diapers. He showed up at 3 a.m. He respected her boundaries. He did the unglamorous, uncelebrated work of proving himself reliable. Sorry is a starting point, not a destination. Anyone can apologize. The question is, what you do next. Psychological research on trust repair shows that words matter far less than behavioral consistency over time. One grand gesture means nothing if it is not followed by sustained change. Trust is rebuilt in tiny increments, through hundreds of small moments where you choose to show up instead of running away. If you have hurt someone and want them back in your life, understand that wanting is not enough. You have to earn it. And earning it takes longer than you want and demands more than you expect. But it is possible. Julian is proof. Lesson 4. It is never too late to choose differently. Julian could have stayed in that cathedral, said his vows, married Penelope, gone through the motions for the rest of his life. No one would have blamed him. It was the expected thing, the easy thing. Instead, he chose the terrifying thing, the uncertain thing, the thing that destroyed his reputation and cost him millions and turned his family against him, and it was the best decision he ever made. We tell ourselves stories about why we cannot change. Too late, too complicated, too much to lose. But those stories are usually fear dressed up as wisdom. The truth is that it is almost never too late to make a different choice, to leave the job that is killing your soul, to end the relationship that is not working, to start the thing you have been dreaming about, to become the person you actually want to be. Yes, there will be consequences. Julian faced plenty, but research consistently shows that we regret the things we did not do far more than the things we did. The paths not taken haunt us more than the messy, complicated paths we actually walked. What choice have you been avoiding? What different life have you been afraid to pursue? Julian ran out of his own wedding. What are you waiting for permission to run from? Lesson 5. Family is chosen, not assumed. Julian's biological family was toxic for most of his life. His father manipulated him. His mother prioritized appearances over love. Their expectations nearly destroyed him. The family Julian built, Amara, the twins, Derek, eventually his reformed parents. That family was built on mutual respect, genuine care, and people choosing each other. Research on what psychologists call chosen family shows that these relationships often provide more mental health benefits than obligatory ties. The people who elevate us, support us, and accept us as we are matter more than shared DNA. This does not mean abandoning biological family. Julian eventually reconciled with his parents, but it means evaluating relationships based on how they make you feel about yourself, not based on blood or tradition. Surround yourself with people who want you to be your best self, who celebrate your growth instead of resenting it, who show up when things are hard, not just when things are easy. That is real family, biological or not. So what is the takeaway from Julian and Amara's story? It is simple, really. The life everyone expects you to live is not necessarily the life that will make you happy. The safe choice is not always the right choice. And it is never too late to become the person you actually want to be. Julian Blackwood walked out of one life and into another. He lost money, reputation, his family's approval, the comfortable certainty of expectations met. He gained everything that actually matters. Amara Okonkwo chose dignity over desperation, strength over surrender. She was rewarded not by a hero rescuing her, but by a partner who finally learned to show up. Together, they built something real, messy, complicated, beautiful. A love that was tested and proven. A family that chose each other every single day. If you are standing at your own altar, literal or metaphorical, facing a choice between what is expected and what is true, remember this. The wrong choice feels like duty. Heavy, obligatory, something you have to do. The right choice feels like freedom. Terrifying freedom, maybe. Uncertain freedom. But freedom nonetheless. Choose freedom. Choose authenticity. Choose the life you actually want to live. And if you have already made the wrong choice, know this. It is not too late. It is never too late. Julian proved that. And so can you. If this story moved you, if it made you think about your own choices and relationships, do me a favor. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story. Drop a comment below answering this question. What lesson from Julian and Amara's story resonated most with you? What are you going to do differently because of what you heard today? I read every single comment. Your responses inspire the stories I tell. Your engagement keeps this channel growing. And share this video. Send it to someone who needs to hear that it is never too late to choose differently. Someone standing at their own altar. Someone afraid to make a change. Someone who needs permission to pursue the life they actually want. This is what Millionaire Love Tales is all about. Not just entertainment, but inspiration. Not just stories, but lessons that change how we live. Until next time, remember, wealth is not measured in bank accounts. It is measured in the people who show up when you need them, and the courage to become the person worth showing up for. Love is not about finding the perfect person. It is about imperfect people choosing each other, again and again, through the hard times and the easy ones. And family is not about blood. It is about who stays, who fights for you, who earns your trust and honors it. Julian learned all of this the hard way. You do not have to. This is Mr. Stanley. Thank you for spending this time with me. I will see you in the next story.